Make a Path presents Let's Talk. Alright, Deadheads, I just finished the issue on 143. I want to talk about it. Before we get into this, there is some things happening with the channel. Watch the channel update video. Also, we're coming close to the end of this. I think we only got like a week left of the Skybound code for this channel. That's exclusive. 10% off at skybound.com. Go buy all the Walking Dead merchandise you want. They got a lot of good stuff. I also have a video going over some of the Walking Dead merchandise. That's at skybound.com. Man, there's everything there. Buy Skybound. They got some awesome stuff. T-shirts and comics and hardcover books. I mean, friggin' the volumes of not only this, but Outcast and everything else that's awesome that's done at Skybound. So there is a week left. It's Ronnie10skybound.com, the online shop for the Walking Dead merchandise. Awesome, awesome stuff. Now, I was tense the entire time reading this issue, and that's because I always felt that somebody was in danger all the time in this issue. So my one word to describe this issue is dangerous. Not only that, but Alpha seems pretty dangerous, and she seems pretty confident that she's dangerous, and later we find out why. So, let's talk The Walking Dead comic issue 143, A Union. Now, flipping through, and I do apologize, but because of what's happening with this channel, we gotta be super quick. So I do want to go over, opening it from the start. If you want to hear my thoughts on Ezekiel and most likely him being the one to die or get mutilated or severely injured by Alpha on the road, go ahead and check out my prediction video that's uploaded right with this video. It's predictions for issues 144, 145, and 146. But I do think this is set up for that altercation on the road. Check that video out. I don't want to repeat myself here, but we open up to that going on. Ezekiel has a conversation here with this Pete guy about Michonne, and I do want to point out, I think this is awesome that we get 2 pages, at Alexandria, 2 pages with the Whispers, 1 page back at Alexandria with, Maggie and Jesus, 2 page with the Whispers, 1 page with Rosita and Eugene. I don't know why I can't say that name, but I love how they do that, because the world building that went on, now we get to bounce, and it's just like, the highlights of each story, just, tidbits, and I just love that. I love that. At the end, the page count, we have 16 pages with the Whispers, and it bounces around. The pacing, how smooth it is, I love that. And 6 pages with Alexandria. Now, we do know that's because of the fair. Everyone's at the fair. Maggie and them from the hilltop, they're at Alexandria, so that's the breakdown. 16 with the Whispers, and I was counting just, Rick and Michonne and Dante on the road. I counted that for the Whispers, not Alexandria, because that's the main part in the story. They're there to confront the Whispers, not, heading back to Alexandria. So, I love how the Whispers just appear. They're still creepy to this day. They just appear, and they're confident as shit. Rick, at this point, he's starting to show that even though he is a confident leader, he has gotten way too comfortable. I mean, it took a couple people, a small group, and again, he's underestimating the enemy that's out there. He's underestimating the threat that's outside of the walls. He takes this small little group, and he's like, let's go. He's talking, like a badass to them, like, listen, man, you move and you're dead. It's that simple. I'm Rick Grimes, And we all know they got more people than you. They're not playing games. This shit is real. And Rick just underestimated them. Now, here's my one complaint in the new beginning. Yes, I finally have a complaint. And it's about the writing. I think I found a part in his writing I don't like. Well, here, in the previous issue, Rick is, barking at Maggie about, you only gave Carl 2 days. You only looked for my son for 2 days. Jesus, interrupted and said, listen, Gregory tried to kill her. And Rick was like, oh, yeah. Okay, and da-da-da, okay, let's go get Carl. And his, oh yeah, it was ambiguous. You didn't know if they talked about Gregory, but then Rick's response being like, oh yeah, alright. Like that was expected, like that was normal. So that is odd. And then we find out in this issue that Maggie didn't talk about them hanging Gregory. This right here is just, it was writing I didn't like. And I don't buy it. I don't believe that after all this time with Gregory, even though we know he's a weasel, I do not believe that they would say, oh, Gregory tried to kill Maggie, and Rick would just be like, oh yeah, like that's normal. I think he would have been like, whoa, what? What? Why? What was this about? I think this could have been solved with him just simply saying, what, why, exactly, and then being like, you know what, we'll go over this when I get back. I'm going to look for Carl, and we'll talk about what Gregory was doing. I think that's an easy solution to something that I don't agree with in the writing. It was just too calm. It was too comfortable. It was too normal. This guy out of nowhere decided to kill Maggie. You know what I mean? And Rick was like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, that is a problem I have with the story. It was left ambiguous, and now we know, but I think it could have been solved easily by having Rick just be like, wait a minute, what? Oh, never mind, we'll worry about that when I go get Carl. Anyway, moving along, I am going to insert another little gripe with Carl and his talk with Rick. I do believe they should have inserted a little more, and I know they have stuff in here that showed that Carl felt like a monster. You know what I mean? And that's what he's talking about with his father, about how people look at him and they don't really look at him because he's deformed and ugly, you know, in his eyes. He's a monster. And I think they should have put a little more in the comic to set this up, because everything so far is like, yeah, he's ugly and he hides it, you know, but people are like, oh, that's Carl Grimes, that's the Carl Grimes. It should have been like, oh, that's the monster Carl Grimes. We should have just got a little bit more. Now again, I'm not picking that apart as bad writing. I just wish we got a little more, because then we would have connected with him more. When he's snapping on his dad, at first I'm like, dude, what? Wait a minute, Carl, what? You know? And then he's like, I'm a monster, and everyone looks at me like that. I was like, oh, that's deep. That hurts, man. That hurts. Especially a young kid, insecure. That's a tough thing to go through in life. You know, a deformity like that, that's harsh, you know? I just wish they would have highlighted that a little bit more, and I would have been alright with that. But moving right along, again, I do understand the kid. That is a terrible thing. We get to Rosita, and it's like, skip. yeah, whatever. I will say, though, me not liking Rosita, it's not a big deal. There's people who love the Rosita thing. There's people who are interested in it. That is the one character I think that I get to that part in the story, and I think she and her situation makes Eugene look like a complete waste. You know, I think it makes him look like a fool, a coward. It makes him look desperate. It just makes him look less than what he is, I think, you know. He's real intelligent. He does a lot. And he just looks like a damn fool, a coward, desperate man clinging to the idea of something that isn't really there. However, I'm not saying they should just take it out. You know, when you have a world this big, you're bound to have characters that you won't care about, but other fans care about. Rosita's my character. I just don't care about at this time. But I do want to point out again, Eugene gets this CB radio. Now the guy says it's missing a few parts, ain't working right now. You get me a bottle of beer from those boys who are selling, it's yours. Now, there could be something else important about the bottle of beer and what's going on there, but I do feel like that could be a possible setup in the story later on, maybe in 10 issues. We see Eugene fix that CB and they communicate with somebody. Now look at the irony here. We got introduced to Eugene in this story, and he's a fake scientist who wasn't talking to somebody on the radio, you know what I mean? Now he's going to actually be talking to somebody on a CB, or potentially. I think that's awesome. It's like the cry wolf thing, but this time it's real. You know, obviously people, you know, would listen to him now, but, or maybe some of them wouldn't. You know, but they would hear it too. But I just think that's ironic and funny. Now, moving right along, this is when Alpha shows up and she has her knife. Now, I'm going to go in depth, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm going to go more in depth and more detailed in my prediction video. But me personally, I think that it's more likely she killed Ezekiel on the road than anybody else. Now, she might have ran into there's three options. She ran into a patrolman, because we know the roads are patrolled. She ran into a patrolman, killed him. Or she ran into Ezekiel, killed him. There's four options, sorry. Or she ran into a patrolman, killed him. Ezekiel saw her, you know, killed, and she attacked him too. And patrolman and Ezekiel are either dead, or Ezekiel is mutilated, fatally wounded, let's say, and Michonne finds him on the way back. But I do believe that Ezekiel is in that equation, and watch the prediction video and I go in more detail about why I believe that. And the fourth thing is Alpha attacked Michonne, Andrea, and Dante on the way back. They set it up like that's what happened, but I do not believe that's what happened, because Andrea, Dante, and Michonne were surrounded by Alpha's people. So if Alpha was walking back and walked up to them or past them, where's the trouble? Where's the conflict? You know, nobody in that circle knows her. They don't have problems with her. They wouldn't snap out at her. I don't see any problems there. So I do believe, yes, because of the setup with Ezekiel going after Michonne, Ezekiel is either a dead man or he's bleeding out right now. So she takes Rick for a long walk. I think it's funny when Rick says, this just keeps getting better and better. And again, I do want to touch on the fact that I love this look of this Rick Grimes. And then we get the cliffhanger with the herd there. Now, I am assuming that is a herd. That's not her people. That wouldn't make any sense, you know? Yeah, it's hard to tell in the image if they have them trapped there, herded there. It does look like because of the building, they have that sectioned off somehow. It's just difficult to figure out what is actually going on. But I'm just going to take a stab here and just say that, okay, they do have them, you know, sectioned off somehow. And that is a real threat. That is, what were we talking about in my review of the issue 142, No Way Out Part 2. And guys, don't get too focused on the No Way Out stuff. It's just the idea of a massive herd led by Whispers in the herd who can not only stab people while they're killing walkers. Imagine that when Rick and Michonne and everyone back in the day in No Way Out was making a stand. Imagine a walker, you know, moseying on up to them. They kill this walker and another one stabs Michonne. She doesn't even expect it. It's like, wow. That's shit. Wow, you know, that is a serious threat. Again, though, don't get too focused on when I say no way out and, you know, the fair is outside of the walls. That's not what it means. It just means, you know, a similar event happening that happened in No Way Out. A herd running through Alexandria, especially with the fair and all them people. Man, I'm kind of hoping that happens. Oh, man. That would put that moment as high up on the list as it gets for the bloodiest moment in the history of the Walking Dead comic. Alright guys, listen, to be honest, I would love to sit here and talk more about this issue. I am loving this story. I have the one problem with the writing, with the Gregory thing and the communication with Rick. I don't think he would be as accepting of the thought and be like, oh, okay, you know, I just have a problem with that. But hands down, I am loving this story. I am absolutely loving it, and I hope it continues down this path. And I do want to make more if I get the time. I'm truly sorry this video is not as good as, you know, my previous ones. I don't have time to put all the images in. I'm gonna try my best, but if I do get the time, I am going to 100% try to make a couple more videos on topics inside this issue. If I missed anything, it's only because I just did not have the time to talk about it. So put that in the comments below. Let's take advantage of the fact that we can communicate with each other. Give me your thoughts and opinions on this issue 143, Union. And let me know what you thought about it. What do you think is going to happen? And also check out that prediction video. If you're new to the channel and you want to know what's going on, watch the important update. I don't want to load you guys with a bunch of personal information, but the problem is 10 times worse than I initially thought when I made the video, because I have less time to do anything. So everything's just, you know, a race to the death now. You know, every day I'm covered in sweat. It's 100 degrees outside and I'm like just going nuts trying to figure everything out. But guys, listen, I do appreciate all the support. If you can, do me a favor, share the videos, and I gotta go. Again, I'm gonna put out as much content as I can. Just bear with me. It's gonna be a few weeks with slow content. I appreciate it. I love you guys. Opinions and suggestions, anything about the issue or anything with the channel, put those in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.